The Bible is the widest selling book of all time, and its books were compiled over many centuries. However, there were certain books that were rejected. Today we examine these books, the so-called Gnostic Gospels, to see why. This is Knowledge Voyage. But before this video starts, don't forget to hit subscribe and hit the bell so that you can get all of our weekly videos about history. Thank you. The Bible records the sacred stories of the Jewish people and the Christianity that grew directly out of it. It is a spiritual and moral guide to billions of people. In its early days, Christians exchanged letters and documents containing accounts of the life of Jesus and his apostles. After the persecution of Christians died down, the Bible was compiled together, and all letters and books examined by scholars and church figures for possible inclusion in a final collected book. Some were unambiguously adopted, such as Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, but other books were more suspect. And the theology contained is said to reflect not traditional Christianity, but the radical theology of the Gnostics, a subsect of Christianity with incredibly different and divergent theology to the mainstream. These books from the Gnostics spoke of Jesus not as a man dying on the cross for the sins of the world, but as a spirit being escaping his physical body to achieve spiritual enlightenment. In other places, these Gnostic Gospels have Jesus saying things not found in any other books. One example would be Jesus challenging his disciples in the Gnostic Gospels with unusual word puzzles that have echoes of ritual magic ceremonies or secret societies. Unlike the canonical Gospels, where the sayings of Jesus are collaborated and repeated in several different places, some Gnostic Gospels only have Jesus saying one thing once in one place. Some of these Gnostic Gospels contain Jesus making strange or isolated statements, such as Jesus promising his followers access to special knowledge that will lead to their spiritual enlightenment. Unlike the canonical Gospels, where Jesus warns his followers of a life of hardship, persecution and death, they are instead told that they will become enlightened beings, so nothing to worry about. But it's not just his words that are shocking in the Gnostic Gospels. Jesus also engages in behaviour not seen in the canonical Gospels, some of which seems massively out of character. In one Gnostic Gospel, the Infancy Gospel of Thomas, it records how Jesus as a child was bullied by a childhood neighbour, and Jesus responds by promptly killing the child using supernatural power. In the canonical Gospels, we are told that Satan inspired Judas to betray Jesus, but in the Gnostic Gospel of Judas, allegedly written by the Apostle Judas himself, the betrayal was ordered by Jesus directly, with Judas promised to become an enlightened being as a reward, as Jesus wished to be killed so he could escape his hated physical form. In other Gnostic Gospels, the explosive claim is made that Jesus even had a wife. In one credit card-sized papyrus fragment found in an Egyptian monastery, a story is recalled where Jesus kissed Mary Magdalene on the mouth. His disciples then ask, "O Lord, why do you kiss her so?" This idea that Jesus was married has been one of the most controversial and emotive claims of people who reject mainstream Christianity, with books by Dan Brown and others making a similar claim. So what about the claims made in these Gnostic Gospels? Were the Gnostic works rejected because they were obvious forgeries, or was the church simply muscling out views it did not like? Well, the answer is interesting. For starters, many Gnostic Gospels are out-and-out forgeries, although it sometimes took centuries to establish this. For example, the Epistle of Barnabas was once heavily circulated in Spain, and was later found to have dated from the Middle Ages. Examinations of its descriptions of life, events and technology in 1st century Judea are wildly inaccurate. Instead, they are littered with medieval ideas about what that time was like, ideas that were later found to be false. There was no theological agenda, simple historical accuracy. It is believed that the Epistle of Barnabas was forged during Islamic rule of Spain in the Middle Ages, possibly as a means to undermine Christian morale during the Reconquista Wars. This meant that when they forged a gospel allegedly set centuries earlier, they accidentally placed medieval details in it. Other Gnostic works were rejected for an obviously false portrayal of Jesus. In the Infancy Gospel of Thomas, Jesus kills a childhood rival for a simple insult. And it seems unlikely that Jesus, who forgave men on the cross who were in the process of physically killing him, would kill a child for a simple insult. And as for the Gospels where Jesus has a wife, there is an interesting point to be made here. Firstly, in the Gnostic Gospels themselves, the apostles asked Jesus why he is kissing his wife. If she was his wife, isn't that kind of obvious? Secondly, in the canonical Gospels, St. Paul defends the institution of marriage, in which Paul says, "Don't we have the right to take a believing wife along with us, as do the other apostles and the Lord's brothers and Cephas?" If Jesus had been married, surely this would have been the ultimate person to quote in support of getting married. So why did St. Paul only mention Jesus' brothers and disciples and not Jesus himself? Probably because Jesus was not married, despite somewhat interesting claims made by Gnostic authors. The Gnostic Gospels, far from being secretly hidden, are widely and easily available online, and some Christian mainstream theologians and authors even study and quote them in their works. Hardly a conspiratorial effort to suppress them. In short, the Gnostic Gospels are interesting to read, and provide a useful insight into the short-lived Gnostic wing of Christianity. But it seems unlikely there was some secret agenda to suppress them. This seems somewhat far-fetched. Nevertheless, they remain an interesting insight into ancient Christianity's history. Thanks for watching everyone, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thank you.